Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the SCT Performance BDX tuner for 2011 to 2014 3.5 liter EcoBoost F-150s. If you want to maximize your EcoBoost power output for a really good price, SCT has got exactly what you need right here. With preloaded tunes plus the flexibility to wirelessly download custom tunes and updates, and support for data logging and even more adjustments baked in, this little tuner should give you everything you need and then some for about the best price in the segment. Diving right on in on numbers, we tested out our 2011 3.5 liter EcoBoost F-150 on our in-house dyno. In stock form, the truck laid down 331 horsepower at 5,100 RPM and 353 pound-feet of torque at 3,600 RPM. Now, by comparison, after we got the tune loaded up here, our F-150 made 346 horsepower at 5,300 RPM and 385 pound-feet of torque at 4,100 RPM, giving us peak gains of 15 horsepower and 32 pound-feet of torque. Now, as you can see from the graph here, we saw most of the increases in the mid-range, as you might expect from a turbocharged engine. It shifts the engine's output a bit partially by turning up the boost in this tune in particular, so power delivery is a bit stronger in the mid-range and on the top end versus stock, but even just here on the dyno, that is a noticeable difference. This tune really made the truck come alive in the mid-range especially, and we saw curve gains really making themselves known around the 4,000 RPM mark. And about at that point, we saw around 50 pound-feet of torque and about 37 horsepower over stock. And it didn't run out of steam either, as the truck continued to make power all the way up to the red line, as you can see on the graph. That's about what you might expect from a torque-heavy turbocharged engine that's been tuned. The BDX again comes with tunes preloaded, so outside of maybe updating the unit software, which is easily done using the provided cable or the Wi-Fi option on here, it's ready to go right out of the box. You don't need to purchase anything separately. Now, there is a tune loaded on this already, maybe even another one depending on what vehicle you have. Ours again is a 2011, so it's the first model year for this particular setup. And this tuner also has the big benefit of supporting custom tunes as well. So if you continue to make upgrades later on down the line, you have the ability to get more tunes written to accommodate those modifications. As I mentioned, the BDX also has built-in Wi-Fi, so you can receive those custom tunes and updates over the air. Makes it one of only a few in the market with this capability, which is something that's nice to see, especially at this price point. Now, in addition to the tunes, you have the ability to make some changes to your truck to compensate for, say, different size wheels and tires, or a different gear ratio, so you can have your speedometer and odometer reading correctly if you've made those modifications. You can also change or disable the stock speed limiter and rev limiter. You can adjust your engine idle speed, change of your transmission shift points, and can even access a setting that will allow you to run an aftermarket intake or an aftermarket front mount intercooler without check engine lights. But even if you do happen to get a check engine light for something else, this has the ability to read and clear diagnostic trouble codes, so you can take care of all that without a trip to the auto parts store, or worse yet, to the dealer. But there's still more. Now, this can also show you live vehicle data. Should you want to display it on your dashboard, you can purchase a mount that'll mount it right up there for you. And you can monitor a bunch of different things on here. You can swap out for different readouts depending on what you want to see, such as boost, intake air temperature sensor, and a lot more. It also supports data logging, so you can save data from your drives or dyno runs, which can be helpful for your tuner if you want to take advantage of the custom tune option later on down the road. Now, it's always difficult to talk about construction with something like this, but it's definitely worth discussing here. Now, this is a pretty compact unit. It features a full color screen, and you can display this in either portrait or landscape mode pretty easily. The 5-button interface makes navigation easy as well, and I'm a big fan of physical buttons, especially on something that's a little on the smaller side like this. It also comes with the USB cable, so you can connect it to a computer for updates, etc. And of course, you have the included OBD2 cable that's going to connect right to your truck. You only need that one cord to set it up and get it working in the truck. Nothing else is needed, so it makes for a pretty easy setup. Pricing comes in at about $475, which for all you get here, especially for the ability to data log, is a really good price. Truly, this is all you need in a tuner, and while you could spend more to get a larger monitor, I don't really find it all that necessary in this application. This one gives you plenty of flexibility, more power, and all the goodies you could want. It's really in everything you need and nothing you don't type of situation. Installation is going to get a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and should take you about 30 minutes to get it plugged in and get the tune loaded onto your truck. Now, we're building in a little bit of extra time here just because you're probably going to end up spending some time messing around with different settings and making some decisions as to what you want your truck to do. But otherwise, it's super simple. And again, you'll just spend more time playing around with it than you will actually getting it plugged in. So enough talking about it, let's hop over to the truck. We'll show you what to do and demonstrate some of the features of this. Hey everyone, today we're going to be installing this SCT BDX tuner on our 2011 F-150 EcoBoost behind me. We've only got a couple things to do. We got our cable here ready to go. The tuner's fired up and ready to go too, so let's get to it. All right, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our tuner and our cable. This end looks like an HDMI cable. It's going to plug into the top right here, like that. Then we're going to take the other end, which goes into your OBD2 port. We're going to plug that in right here underneath of the dashboard. All right, now we're going to take that OBD2 plug right here, and in this truck, the cable is going to face up toward the top of the dash. We're just going to plug that in until it's nice and seated. All right, now that we've got our tuner plugged in, we're going to go ahead and start programming the truck. Now, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that this can be mounted up on your dashboard. There is a mount that you can purchase separately. We don't have it here, so we're just going to hold it and go through the features of this. So we're going to dive right in and start programming the truck. First thing I'm going to do is take the key and put the truck in the on position. So the power is on, but the engine is not running because I know it's going to ask us to do this. All right, so the first thing we've got to do once we've got this plugged in and the truck on is connect it to Wi-Fi. Now I've gone ahead and done that already. We did have to put in a password, which I'm not going to show that on camera, obviously. Now this is going to go through and verify the files for this particular truck. So just give it a moment, let it do that, and then we'll be able to go ahead and get these things loaded up. All right, so we're going to dive in now and we're going to start programming the truck. So we're going to select Program Vehicle. Again, this is going to ask you to just double check that everything is correct. I do note this is the VIN. I verified it from the tag here on the door. So let's go ahead and hit Confirm. All right, this is going to ask you to connect to Wi-Fi if you haven't already. Ours is already connected. I went ahead and did that off camera here because Ken had to put in a password. Now, since this is connected to Wi-Fi, and I've also made sure that this is properly updated, which you should too before you plug it in, this should have all the files on here for this particular truck. So this is just going through and verifying that it has the correct files for it, and we should be able to get right into programming. Now that we're into the menu, there's a bunch of different options in here that we have to go through. So we're going to start with the fuel octane. Pressing the center button brings us in here. Our truck is running 93 octane, so we're going to select that. It's going to take us back to the menu here. Going down, the next thing is the intake air box. So if you have an aftermarket intake on your truck, you can go in here and you can select a couple of them. They have 3 already. Our truck is running the stock air box, so we're going to leave that there. Next one is the front mount intercooler. Again, you can go in and choose a couple of different ones. Ours is stock, so we're going to leave that there. The axle ratio, ours is a stock value, so we're going to leave that one as is, but if you've changed up the axle ratio, this is a place where you can do it without having to go into a separate menu. Tires revs per mile, again, this is going to be something if you've changed the size of your tires. If you've gone up to something bigger, you can scroll through and do that. Again, our truck is totally stock. We have not changed those. These are on these stock wheels, so we're going to stay with that. You can also change your speed limiter here. We're not going to change that either. And your rev limiters. The first one is your rev limiter in gear, which is 6,200 RPM. The next one is rev limiter in neutral. If you wanted to change that, you can. Again, we're going to leave that one just as it is. So we had 6,200 RPM, so we're going to leave that exactly where it is. Scrolling back down, again, same thing. You can change your idle speed in either drive or neutral. We're not going to mess with those, again, leaving them completely stock. And then you have your wide open throttle shift points. You have 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, all the way up through 5, 6. So you can change when the vehicle is programmed to shift. So if you want to go up a few miles an hour, or if you want to go back, we're not going to change anything. We're going to leave it right there for all of those values. Again, we're going to give a complete apples to apples comparison versus this truck in its stock form. So once you've gone through all of that, you've decided everything is to your liking, you're going to go over and hit approve. And this is going to go through, it's going to process things, it's going to save your stock calibration, and then it's going to apply the new tune. Let it go through, because the dash is going to cycle off. This is basically building the tune now, and in a moment, it's going to start loading things up. Your dashboard's going to go a little wild for a second too. Don't worry about it, totally normal. All right, so this is now writing the tune for us. We turned it off for a few minutes. We didn't have to watch the entire thing go. We're at 93%, so you're gonna hear the truck do a couple of weird things. It is important too when you do this, make sure your battery is nice and healthy. I went ahead and plugged ours into a battery tender just so we had enough power and juice for this, because the ignition is gonna stay on while it does this. Now once this hits 100%, things are gonna change over again. Just like that. Your dashboard's gonna freak out a little bit. Don't worry, that is totally normal. Now it's gonna go through and clear any diagnostic trouble codes that we might have gotten. A couple weird things might happen. Our turn signal went off, our lights just went on. You can hear some modules clicking and going through here. Again, that is totally normal. That is expected with this process. I'm just gonna let it do its thing, not touch anything. All right, now it's asking us to turn the key off, so we're gonna turn it off and wait. Turn it back on. Ask us to turn it off again. We'll hit continue this time. And congratulations, we're done. So we're gonna go back and hit done here. I'm gonna turn the key on. All right, once the bonging has stopped, I wanna go through and show a couple other things on here. So again, we already used the program vehicle feature. If we go down and select gauges and data log, again, this will ask you to turn things on. Now you can do a couple of things here. You can just hit continue and go in, and this is going to show you some different gauges. It'll ask you to select what you want. This is, where are we here? Ford, it's a gas truck, 08 and newer, so we're gonna hit continue. And now, this brings us to another screen that's gonna show you a couple of different things. So up top, we've got boost in PSI. Down here, we've got our voltage. Now, if you hit the center button, that'll record it. You can do that. You can also go back. We're gonna stop the data log. We don't need that. We'll go back in though, and go over to configuration. Again, we're gonna go Ford Gas 08 and newer, because that's what we're working on here. This will bring us back to that same screen, but if we hit back, we can go down and select the gauge layout. So you can do a couple of different things here. This one is gonna give us the most, and we are in portrait right now. So you can do landscape as well. We're gonna leave it in portrait just because I don't wanna have to turn this thing around. If we select this, it'll show you a bunch of different things. So again, we have our boost, our 2 lambda sensors, or our O2 sensors, our voltage, our idle air temperature sensor, or intake air temperature sensor, excuse me, so that's showing 68 degrees, and a couple of other things as well. So again, if you wanna log this, you can hold on to that. This will help if you're gonna get any custom tunes written, or if you just really wanna monitor the health of your engine. Again, we're not gonna do that, so we're just gonna go back here. We'll go back to the main menu. Hit stop data log, and that'll take us back to the main menu. Here we can go into vehicle functions, and this is gonna give you the opportunity to read or clear any diagnostic trouble codes. So if you hit that, it'll show you we have no codes found. We can turn the key off here. If we wanted to clear any, they would be right in here as well. But again, we didn't have any codes, nothing to clear. Now if we go down to special functions, it's gonna take a second, gather some information, and give you a couple of other things here. The big thing that you can change with this one is the tire size and axle ratio. So if you, say, went up to bigger size tires, you can change that right here. Now, our tire size did not change. Again, we're running stock tires, so we're gonna do that and just leave it alone. You can also do a crank relearn or a KAM reset. This is basically just going to be things that'll help get the engine up to snuff if it's running a little bit rough, especially after the tune. Again, we're not going to have that problem, so we're not going to do that here. Last thing I want to go through is showing you how to return your vehicle back to stock. It's going to be pretty much the same. We're not going to do it right this second, but I'm just going to show you where the selection is. So if you go back into Program Vehicle, it's going to gather some information just like it did before. And you'll see right at the top here, now instead of just having the custom and preloaded tunes, we've got stock programming. So you can select that and it'll take you right back to your stock tune on your truck. That's going to wrap it up here for our review, install, and dyno test of the SCT Performance BDX tuner fitting 2011 to 2014 3.5 liter EcoBoost F-150s. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things F-150, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.